What's up, everybody? Welcome into a new episode of the Rapala Collegiate Bass Podcast here with the ACA, Association of Collegiate Anglers. We just wrapped up the 2025-2026 season for the Bass Pro Shops Collegiate Bass Fishing Series, of which just a week later culminated the race for this year's Bass Pro Shops School of the Year presented by Abu Garcia. The University of Montevallo taking home its sixth straight title just a couple weeks prior to that award being announced. University of Montevallo, Clent Davis now being named the head coach there. He's our special guest today on this episode of the podcast. Clint, we'll go ahead and bring you in, welcome in. And for those that don't know, you yourself, a former college angler, so just initially here at the University of Montevallo, you helped to start the club. Now you're coming back to lead the team. Just kind of begin things here today as we talk about this full circle moment that's happened for you at this point in your life.
Yeah, Kyle. Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Exactly what you just said. It's been a full circle moment. I think we started the club 20 years ago, and just what it's grown into now. When we started, there were no fishing scholarships. It was us paying our way to fish year tournaments and Southern Collegiates. That's all that existed at the time. To where it is now, to where, hey, I'm out recruiting kids for 27 right now, getting ready to start offering scholarships for the next group of guys coming in. It's amazing what this program and this sport has blown up into.
Yeah, it really is, and it's fun to have you on here today and get to talk. As last year we celebrated our 20th year here with the Association of Collegiate Anglers, and I know as going back through the archives and pulling old content for social media and things like that, I went as far back as the very first ACA National Championship, and not too long thereafter. I don't know if you were in the first one, but you were in the next couple after that, and seeing you on stage and catching fish and just the faces and names that Brandon Card, other anglers that have come through in that early group, and then now to see the way that the sport's putting guys into the pros left and right. We'll talk about that as well in just a little bit, but the growth of it all and the progression of it, just super cool to see. Kind of talk yourself real quick about your experience in college and what influence, if any, that had on then you being able to go into what was a 10 to 15 plus years as a professional angler before you're now as the head coach at the University of Montevallo. Kind of talk about that time in college and maybe what impact that had on what you did thereafter.
I'd always had aspirations, I guess, of being a professional angler, but definitely without college fishing, there's no way I would have done it. And I'll just tell you a little short story here. Other than the fact, I guess we'll back up. Other than the fact of getting to go fish all these lakes, before I actually stepped up to the front of the boat and started paying the big boy bills, as I called it, the $4,000, $5,000 entry fees. But one thing that led me to be able to go do it for a living, I should say, be able to. I met Justin Lucas. Of course, he was with MLF at the time. He was the MC for them, and he invited me along. He said, "Hey, you need to come fish co-angler with us." He had just got into the FLW tour as a boater, and that's where it started for me. So yeah, not only did college fishing help, but the people that I met through college fishing is how I ended up doing it.
Yeah, it's fun to hear those things. Wade and I reminisce all the time talking about, different people, yourself now in your position, other coaches being named, or other former professional anglers being named to head coaching spots, or anglers we see at ICAST that are either interning or now working in the industry, to hear how they're able to take this opportunity, because that's what college fishing truly is an opportunity to make it really whatever it is that you want it to be, myself included. I met Wade and everybody at the time when I was fishing ACA events and college, and throughout then I sent a couple emails, inquired about internships, because I went to school for broadcast journalism, and what Careco does here is a lot of similar things that match my skill set. And 4, 5, 6 years after I graduated and had put in my work doing other things in local news and media groups, I was able to come back here, and they recognized me, knew my name, knew who I was, and that might not have guaranteed me the job, but got me a foot in the door to have an opportunity to present myself and show what I was capable of. So it's really awesome to hear, whether you're coming into the industry You want to be a pro. You never know what hand you shake, person you talk to, or opportunity might turn into what actually dictates your future. And so then for yourself, getting to go to those professional ranks, kind of talk about those years a little bit and anything in between that professional career and now. Just kind of give everybody a little insight into what the last 10 years or so has looked like for you that's led to this moment today where we're talking about you being the head coach at the University of Montevallo.
Oh man, 10 years. Let's talk about it real quick, huh?
Yeah, I've got limited batteries, so keep it short. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, man. Oh goodness. It's crazy. You said 10. I think I started in 2009. Really, 2012 was my first full year at FLW on the FLW tour. Backing up to that, the years before that, like I said, I fished co-angler, and that allowed me to raise enough money to be able to go to the front of the boat. I see these guys talking about these days. These kids coming out of college these days, especially here at Montevallo, we have so many resources and know so many people in the industry to where a lot of them can kind of step out of college and go right into the opens with sponsors. If they do a good job here, then the sponsor is going to pay them to go right on into the open. So that is a huge thing that college allows you to do compared to what it was a very long time ago. But yeah, like I said, I started in 2012 on the FLW tour, very successful. Won Rookie of the Year that year. Man, we just fast forward, I don't know, fished the tour all the way up until 2018. Won the Forest Wood Cup that year and transferred over to the Elite Series for the last few years of my career. And honestly, I was ready to be home. I had a 10-year-old daughter that I never really got to see grow up. So if you're going to fish for a living, you're going to make some sacrifices, I guess, as far as anything else in the world. But that kind of ended my career, just ready to be at the house. And then, of course, stepping right into this deal, something we started forever ago. It's just been a great dream come true, getting to meet all these guys and recruit them. And man, they're so excited, so fired up about fishing, just like I was when I was their age. So it's a lot of fun getting to work with them and teach them a little bit about fishing and how to be better men as well.
Yeah, definitely a leadership role that you're in a crucial time in these young anglers, students' lives is they're going away from home for the first time. They're trying to figure out who they are and what they want to be, and that from week to week, year to year, that can change too. I know I changed majors while I was in college, and I felt like that was one of the biggest decisions I ever made. And lo and behold, it was a really good decision that I made, and it also didn't amount to nothing but a molehill in the scope of the way life goes. But funny how things like that work, and you're going to have an impact on them and be able to have the opportunity to, obviously bring some of your background as you're talking about, and then personal life experiences are also extremely valuable to share with these kids as well. Let's talk about the current state of the program. Coming off 6 straight Best Pro Shop School of the Year presented by Abu Garcia titles. Just kind of speak a little bit to you've already hinted at it a little, but 15, 20 years ago you started this club, this concept of a team of the year rankings. It didn't even exist then. It does get introduced. Montevallo really isn't around at the time. Things get ramped up under Coach Crawford over the last 5 to 10 years, and now this team is where it's at. Kind of talk about that progression and maybe trying to wrap your mind around what college fishing has become and what Montevallo means to it too.
Yeah, I mean, Montevallo, honestly, since it was started, has always been successful. Like you said, in the early days, I guess there wasn't a team of the year. It took a little while before y'all started doing all that, but as long as I can remember, Montevallo has been successful. Then, of course, like you said, the last 10 years, it's really taken off with it. There's only so many, I guess, team sports, as you want to say. Like a lot of these college fishing teams are actually club sports, and Montevallo is one of the places that's an actual team sport where we pay for everything. We give you a fishing scholarship to go fishing, and pay for all your expenses to go fish these tournaments. So that's definitely a huge advantage we have here is I guess the budget, you can say, the resources we have to be able to send these guys. And I'll talk about it. I am the new coach. The old coach left. There was a split. I think there was 30-something guys that graduated, a huge senior class, huge, very successful senior class. I was actually counting earlier. out of that senior class, I won't be surprised if there's not 4 or 5 guys fishing the Elite Series or something like that here within the next 2 years. A couple of them may actually qualify this year. So we here at Montevallo, we're going to be young next year. We've got a few guys here that are going to be they're experienced. They're going to do very well, and we've got a great incoming freshman class. But with all that being said, I see it continuing to be right there at the top. If we have a little bump in the road next year, we do, but we're not falling very far. We'll be right there and back within the next year as far as right at the top.
Yeah, what's something maybe you've learned here early on that you feel like you can kind of take as a message to the team and under this first year with you guys? We've talked to the Easton Fothergills and the Nick Dumkeys, and throughout the last couple years, I'm drawing up, Peyton and Dalton. Just go down the list, and we'll have them on as they win events over each of the last couple seasons, and each of them every year continued to have this fire. And for those that just graduated this year, 6 straight titles. That means from the time they started college fishing until they graduated, they never once didn't finish the year ranked number 1 in the Bass Pro Shop School of the Year presented by Abu Garcia. Kind of talk a little bit about maybe your message to the team, the culture you're building, anglers you're bringing in to try and continue this momentum that is one of the at the moment, it's the greatest legacy in college fishing.
Yeah, as far as the momentum, like I said, it's there's a lot of great kids still here. They're young kids. There's a lot of freshmen that stayed and stuff, but they've seen what it takes. And again, we recruit these kids in. That's what I'm looking for is first of all a great person, and second of all someone that has just just never-ending fire to fish, a competitive person that wants to win, and that's what it takes. You get a good group of these guys together, and it takes the whole team, but it only takes a small handful of them to really push this thing forward and continue to compete for championships.
Let's talk a little bit about just the state of the sport. As we hinted at earlier, since the beginning of college fishing, there have been college anglers that have gone on to be successful pros. Within the last 10 years, however, it feels like the narrative around that and the amount of them coming in, they've both increased. Yourself, you made that move. There's others at that time that did the same thing you did, but there was 1 or 2 maybe each year, every other year, and there just wasn't a ton of buzz. And then you get Jordan Lee, and that's kind of the first one that really sticks into my mind is like, hey, these college anglers are making this move up. And within the last 5 or 6 years, maybe due in part to the way that these systems are now structured, these kids are able to go fish a year, qualify, and be at the highest level in the sport almost immediately. And you're seeing that infusion of young talent, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys as I look at these leaderboards, even at kind of more of like your AAA events that aren't your BPTs and your Bassmaster Elite Series, but that stuff just below it, you start scrolling the top 20 or 30, and it's littered with names that I recognize as either active or just graduated college anglers. Kind of talk a little bit about the state of the sport today and that just increased visibility and success of young talent so immediate at the pro level.
Yeah, and it definitely starts at the high school level. Like the high school program, these programs, it's amazing what they've grown into as well. And so, hey, they step right out of high school right into college, and the learning curve is it's been shortened so much because of the amount of time, the number of tournaments these kids get to fish through the high school ranks and into the college ranks. The learning curve is nothing like it used to be because of all the tournaments and like I said, all the events, all the locations they get to go to. They're trained up on all these lakes by the time they leave college. So, like you said, they step right into the pros and keep on rolling.
Yeah, interesting, too. You mentioned high school. I know about 5 or 6 years ago, sort of as I started to take over as tournament director at the time, I remember being at a tournament one morning talking with the coach, and it was about the time COVID was kind of happening, or we were just getting out from all of the hubbub around that, and things were starting to become more normal and people were getting out. And they said, you would think that given the nature of the world at the time and everything, whether it's economy and things like that some of that growth would be stunted. And they said that the amount of anglers that they were seeing as they were going out to local and regional tournaments across their respective state and recruiting, that there was almost like this increased energy around fishing, and that maybe there was an element to these kids were home. It then led into the summer. They had nothing better to do. They went fishing, and there's been a big growth, and we've seen it here with our event numbers in this past season. Basically, every event we contested was a record-breaking field for that respective tournament, and annual growth of 5-10% or more at each tournament over the last 4 or 5 years. That infusion of young talent is there. It's happening, and it's coming on up. Talk a little bit, too, about maybe what you're seeing as you interact with these kids that you think is possibly different from whether it's a mentality and mindset. You talked about their experience at the lakes. What possibly has kind of changed in like the cumulus? Maybe it's their brains, their mindset. They know they can achieve it. Maybe they're diving into different elements of things that didn't exist when you and I were fishing, that they use as tools and assets. Kind of a jumbled question, but as you see these guys and you're getting to learn about them and know them, maybe what's something different that you're seeing positive that they're able to take and turn to their success that maybe we didn't have access to or weren't doing back then?
So I'm not saying this the wrong way. I mean, the two things that come to mind, and it's two questions I ask all the kids I'm recruiting right now is, how many corkies do you have in your tackle box? And how good are you with live scope? So you're asking that, and I'll just say the one thing that has really, really put fishing ahead of everything, and everyone knows, is live scope. And these kids are so good with it. They started with it from day one. And that's another thing that's really shortened the learning curve, is the live scope aspect of fishing. And if you're not great at it, then you're going to get left behind. There's definitely a lot of instincts and stuff that are still built into it, but the live scope, it's just, it's amazing how much better anglers are with it now.
Yeah, as myself here, I wear a lot of different hats, do a lot of different things, create social media. I'm obviously on site at the events helping out there, and then I also edit the television show. So I see full circle the content that's gathered by our team here at Careco and the ACA from out on the water. And from our tournament series, we go to lakes like Lake Dardanelle, shallow and muddy. You go to Hartwell based on the time of the year. When we go in the spring, they're up shallow. Summertime for the championship, they're out deep. Pickwick obviously varies as well based on the time of the year. And Kentucky Lake, you can get up dirt shallow and you can go out offshore. That to be said, each of those stops, you're seeing these anglers, like you mentioned, utilize those tools like a live scope in a variety of different ways. I've seen them use it to shoot at bedfish on Hartwell in the spring, and then obviously in the summer, and when it cools off, they're out over open water catching fish in areas that, to be frank, when I was an angler, even still today, if I had a boat and I was out there fishing, I don't know if I'd be out there even looking for a bass. It's just kind of funny to know and see how that's all played out and changes. And that's one thing also I think to these anglers' credit is the constant evolution, willing to soak up this knowledge and use it in their brain power to go out and find success. And that's seen across, the Bass Pro Shop School of the Year presented by Abu Garcia. That top 25, those teams earning points, they're from Michigan, they're from Florida, they're driving all the way from California. You maybe had a little bit of regional dominance as well based on if somebody knew Highland Lakes or river fisheries. These kids are going out and they're catching fish anywhere and everywhere that they go. Talk a little about maybe what you're going to provide from your standpoint as a former angler, knowing the state of the sport now and what these kids want to achieve from event to event. How might you try to kind of give them a little bit of positive encouragement, insight, influence into continuing that success at a given fishery? Say, we're going to start the season with the Bass Pro Shops Big Bass Bash presented by Berkeley, going to Kentucky Lake. What might be a game plan or kind of a team mentality that you would send them into for that tournament?
You say a team mentality. I mean, Kentucky Lake still fishes the same way it did forever ago. At least one thing I guess I can tell them is, hey, this is going to be the certain things you can do, whether it's smallmouth, largemouth. As far as catching them, I'll be able to tell them pretty much how it's going to lay out for certain. And the way I see myself helping these kids. And I told them after the 4th of July, guys, I got to start getting out of the office. I'm about to start getting in the boat with a bunch of them helping them out. You know, I told them, give me a list. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What do we got to get better at? And that's one huge thing that I'm bringing to the table that a lot of people won't be able to, is I'm going to be able to go get in the boat and teach them these things.
That's awesome. Definitely something for those anglers to look forward to and be able to take advantage of as they look to grow themselves and their careers in the sport of fishing as well as inside the industry. Lastly, here as we wrap things up, Clint, just kind of conclude it with, anything you want to add, whether it's stuff that you've learned as a college angler that you're going to bring to the table now 20 years later, the evolution of the sport, the industry side of it, whatever it might be, just kind of lay out your thoughts and what you hope to achieve there at Montevallo and maybe what you think the future of the sport looks like here over the next 5 or 10 years.
Man, what do I hope to achieve here at Montevallo? I hope we continue to win, and, we're going to. But what I hope is to see a lot of guys come through this program and graduate from college and become better people. And I hope that when they do graduate, we're able, if they want to work inside the industry, to kind of help them get placed around in different places, certainly. There's only a handful of guys going to make it to the top level of fishing, and that's not going to last forever. But getting a degree and knowing people in the industry and being able to work in the industry that you want to work in, to me, that's the biggest goal. That's the thing in life. Go contribute to some company, something that you love. That's what I want to do. Graduate from college and go do that. And like I said, because only a handful of them are going to make it to the top level.
Yeah, definitely no doubt about that. You see it at any and every sport. The College World Series just finished, and I watched a kid get a base hit in the 9th inning, and the commentators were talking about how he's about to finish up his career and go to med school. Baseball's not what he's going to pursue. There's a professional career out there waiting for him. You put in all that work, all that time over 20 years of your life, and for some it's going to come to an end and it turns into a hobby, and for others it becomes a profession, and it's just always awesome to watch that play out. As for yourself, a full circle moment like we started with. We'll wrap it up here as you are a former college angler, you pursued your career, and now you're getting to come back and provide that insight and knowledge and value to these anglers. It's going to be cool to see how it all plays out. Clint, thanks for taking the time here to join us today, and best of luck to you guys there at Montevallo this upcoming season.
Thank you. Yep, we're looking forward to it. We're excited.
I've never been so excited to release a bait that has such a unique action, unique sound, and it catches freaking biggins. We've all heard the term size matters, and it does.
Dude, look at this.
I ain't saying it gets bigger bites, but it kind of does.